welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be doing a bit more baking. I love to make cakes, one of my favourite things to do. And today I'm making a cake for one of my friends in work. So hello Lena, if you watch the video. This cake is for her parents and they want just a Victoria sandwich with some chocolate coated strawberries. So when I'm baking a cake, I don't generally use a recipe. What I tend to do is actually weigh my eggs. So I've got 6 today because we're going to be making 2 8-inch rounds, and I'm going to be filling these right up so they're nice and deep. And then what I do is when I've got my weight for my eggs, so today it was 12.8 ounces. I do always make my cakes in ounces because it's the way my mother used to do it. And then I weigh everything else to the same weight. So I've got my margarine here, my caster sugar, and also my self-raising flour over here, and they're all going to be the same weight, 12.8 ounces. It makes it really easy to make cakes because all you need to do is measure your eggs and then you know what the rest of your recipe is going to be. I will convert the recipe into grams for the weights I've got today, but if you just weigh your own eggs, that will give you really good results. This sponge I've used for years, my mother used for her, and it was handed down to her as well. And it just gives excellent results, never gone wrong, never failed. Fail-proof cake recipe. So I've got some baking margarine here. I like to use stock, but I also like to use the Aldi and Lidl alternatives, which are lovely. I do really like to bake with butter as well, but I do find margarine gives a slightly better rise in a basic sponge cake. If I was making brownies or like a gingerbread cake, something like that, I would use the proper butter. I'm going to add my caster sugar. If you don't have a stand mixer at home, that's fine. You can either do it by hand, takes a little bit longer, or you can do the electric hand mixer. Either works absolutely fine. So I'm going to close the lid. I'm going to start the mixer on slow till it mixes, and then we're going to go up to full speed. And what we're looking for is for it to be light and fluffy, because what we're actually doing is creaming the sugar into the batter. So I'll just turn the mixer on. So I've just stopped the mixer here now after just probably about 30 seconds, and I'm just going to scrape down the sides of the bowl, and then we're going to beat it again on high for another sort of 30 seconds to a minute. So I'll just switch that off. And you can see now how much lighter it is, and you can't see any of the sugar. About a teaspoon, a little bit too much vanilla. Well, there's no such thing as a little bit too much. A little bit more than a teaspoon is absolutely fine. I'm also going to add in 2 eggs at this stage. And just a nice sort of scoop of flour, not too much. And this will just stop your mixture from curdling. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this mix back up to high. And then when it's on high, I'm going to add the remaining 4 eggs as I see them getting incorporated into the mix. And then I may actually scrape them in the bowl again, but we'll see how it's looking. So I've just turned it off after adding the second 2 eggs. And I can see that it is sort of around the side of the bowl. So I'm going to give that a good mix in and a scrape down to make sure we're catching everything around the sides. And then back up to high. So I'm just going to switch that off. And you can see that we've got a sort of light, creamy mix now. And we're going to add in our flour. And this is just normal self-raising flour that I like to use. You can, if you're used to using plain flour and a raisin agent, use that. My preference is self-raising, I just think it's easier. Pinch of salt, which I always add to my baking because I think it brings out flavour. Now at this stage we're going to put the mixer back on, but you don't mix it very much. So we just want to mix it until most of the flour is gone, and then we'll do the last mix by hand because you don't want to overwork that cake batter. Nice and low this time. I'm going to watch it, probably only for about 30 seconds until the flour is incorporated. So you can still see there's quite a bit of flour around the edge of the pan. I don't know if you can see that there. I'm going to give that a nice stir now with the spatula, but that's how we actually want it. We don't want any more mix than that. I'm just going to stir this through. Make sure we scrape right around the bottom and the sides of the bowl, and that's looking nice. That's how the sort of cake batter you want. It's not runny, sort of plops off the spoon. Off the spatula, I should say, on the spoon. Okay, so I've got my cake pan, and then I've got 2 discs of parchment paper, and I've also got Trex. So some of you may not have heard of Trex before. It's just a vegetable shortening sort of fat. I don't use it for anything else, only for greasing my tins, but I do find it excellent for doing that. So I'm just going to give it a quick grease. You kind of want to see it, but not have big lumps of white in there. And a bit more for the second one. Up and around the sides, everywhere the cake's going to touch, we want to put the Trex. So that's done, it doesn't take very long. And then you could try and put these straight in like this, but see, they don't really go in. So what I tend to do is crumple them up, and it makes them more sort of malleable to fit into the space. And those creases and things won't come out on the finished cake. And again with this one, not too much, just a little scrunch. And then up and round the sides. So I'm going to pop in the cake batter now. I'm going to work this round to make them quite level. I'll be leveling these cakes off after, so I'll show you how we do that as well. So these are ready for the oven now. I do have a bit of cake mix left over, so the kids will be happy because we'll be having cupcakes. I'm going to pop them in at 175 degrees fan, that's centigrade. You might want to adjust your oven slightly because all ovens do vary. And then we're looking for maybe 15 to 18 minutes cooking time. We'll test it with a knife to make sure it comes out clean. Then we'll put them on a cooling rack. We take them straight out of the tins as soon as they come out of the oven, or as soon as you can if they're not too hot. Leave them to cool, completely cool. If you're in a rush, you can pop them in the fridge or the freezer. They cool down much quicker. And then we level them and fill them and then decorate them. Just because we had a bit of cake mix left over, I've actually pulled out my cupcake tin and I filled it with 4 liners. I might need a little bit more than that. I'm just going to show you how I fill my cupcakes. It's not very fancy. 2 spoons. I don't have the ice cream scoop. I use the 2-spoon method, which works pretty well for me. And if you did have extra cupcakes and you didn't want to eat them, say you know you're not a lover of cake, you could freeze them in the wrappers once they're out of the oven and cool, and they will keep and defrost lovely on a cooling rack. We got 8 extra cupcakes from Mummy. These will probably cook in about 12 to 15 minutes, but I would be checking them after 12. Again, I cook mine at 175 degrees. I've just cleaned my bowl and filled it up with 500 grams of more of the bacon marge. I do also use butter quite often in my buttercream, but if I've got a lot of piping to do, I tend to use margarine to stay softer. If I had something that needed to harden up, say under fondant, or I wanted to do the sort of covered buttercream cakes, I would use butter and let that firm up in the fridge. I'm going to break all the rules now. I'm just going to pop all my margarine, which is 500 grams, and then a kilo of icing sugar, not sifted. The recipe I use for buttercream is, again, more of a ratio, something you can remember. It's half the fat to the amount of sugar. So 500 grams of butter, 1,000 grams or a kilogram of the icing sugar. And this will make way more than we need today, but then I will go on and I will freeze the buttercream. So we started off slow, and then we keep it right up to high until it's light and fluffy. Then we're going to add a flavouring, which is just vanilla today, and that's it, that's the buttercream done. We got nice, light, creamy buttercream, and I'm going to add in about a teaspoon again of the vanilla extract. And you can sort of flavour buttercream with all sorts of things, but we're just doing a plain vanilla today because we're doing a Victorian sandwich. So another blitz now with that, and that will be done. There we are. This is by far the most simple buttercream that you can make. There is also Italian meringue buttercream, Swiss meringue buttercream, Russian buttercream, lots of different types. I do have a Swiss meringue buttercream recipe that I use all the time on my website, katiehomecook.com, so if you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description below. We're just going to make the decoration at the top. I've melted a mixture of dark and milk chocolate in here. There's about 100 grams of each, and I've just melted it in the microwave. So I'm just going to dip my strawberry, and you just want to make sure you get right around the edge of the strawberry. You may not have clean fingers by the end. And then we're just going to give it a really good drip. What we're trying to do is prevent that big chocolate foot that you get sometimes on chocolate strawberries. There we go. So I'm just going to pop that down. Got some baking tray just here lined with parchment. Do the same again. These ones are just a bit too big, but you know, still lovely to eat. I love strawberries. Even without the chocolate. Got some melted white chocolate here, and you don't want it too thin. Can you see how it's sort of running? I'm going to start on the edge of the paper and start going across, because the first bit will probably blob. So we're going to start there and then come across into little sort of strips. Quite easy. I'm just using a fork to do this. You could, if you wanted to, use a piping bag. That works quite well. But for the sake of getting it out, you don't really need it. Just remember to start your strips on the actual paper so that the blob is on the paper and not on the strawberry. I'm going to try and run across a few. There we are. That's more the motion we wanted. And they don't have to be perfect, just nice and simple. Just rather than the plain chocolate, I just think it looks a little bit prettier. I'm just going to tip my cake out. It's still hot. Oh, hang on, it did come out. Hang on. Whoop. There we are. The grease for the paper will come off, but you just got to be careful to work it around. If you go really fast with it, it can rip the cake. So just really gently. There we are. That's that one done. And we'll get this one out. Whoop. There we are. Sometimes it can take a little bit of persuading to come out. Hello, so it's been probably a couple of hours now since I last seen you, although it'll only be a couple of seconds for yourselves. And I've got my cakes, they're fully cool. I've got my cupcakes, my spiral cupcakes, they're completely cool. And I've got my buttercream out of the fridge, I've got some jam. I've got 2 piping bags. This one I've just snipped the end off that we're going to be using. And this piping bag I've just popped in a 2D Wilton tip to make some roses on the top of our cake that we're going to use to attach our chocolate strawberries, which are also set and ready to go. I'm going to start by levelling out the cakes. So you put the part of the cake that was on the bottom of the tin down flat, because we know that part of the cake is flat. There we are. Pop that in there. That's our cakes levelled. They're not perfect, I haven't spent a lot of time doing it, but they will be level for what we want. So I'm just going to get my cake turntable, and then I've got a silicone mat that stops anything from slipping, and on top of that I've got a cake board. That's a 10-inch cake board to go with our 8-inch cake. Now I'm going to start by filling up the icing bag with no tip. So to do that, I just fold it over on itself, make a nice well. So you can see, so I put it over my hand. I've got a nice long sort of half over the hand. And with your piping bag, you don't want to overfill it. Put that spatula right in, and then I use my fingers to sort of scrape that spatula off. So you can see now the top of my piping bag is clean. So I'm going to twist that so that the buttercream comes right the way down. So I'm going to put a blob of buttercream there. And we're going to put our first cake down, just like that, and try and make sure that that's in the centre. And then I'm going to make a sort of wall with the buttercream now, going around the edge. I'm going to double that up. There we are. And then we're going to fill our sort of centre with jam. We're just going to pop our other cake on top. So we finished with that piping bag. So I'm going to make my piping bag now with my 2D nozzle. We're going to fill the bag in exactly the same way. When I'm piping, all of the pressure is coming from this hand, and I'm just guiding with this hand. So with the roses, start in the centre, work your way around and come up. I'm going to do one there. I'm going to do one opposite. Up. Then either side. And then I'm just going to go in between and do some little sort of swirls. I'm going to get some of these chocolate strawberries now. Sort of pop them into those sort of swirls. Let's put some buttercream in the centre. And then we will just add a few more strawberries into the middle. There's the finished cake. Not too difficult to do. And luckily for me, I've actually got some spare chocolate covered strawberries. Really good. I should have waited till the end to do that. If you like this recipe and you like the video, please hit the subscribe button. I'm reliably told it's down there. And also the little bell icon, which means you'll get a notification when I post a new video, which is going to be about once a week. And you can also follow me on Instagram or Twitter. All the links are down below. And yeah, if you get any comments, please get in touch, or any questions. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks very much. What I'm going to do is just a basic vanilla buttercream swirl with some gold glitter and maybe a couple of sort of gold sprinkly accent sort of thing. You could use anything you wanted to decorate these, but this is just a quick way that I do it. So I've got my trusty 2D nozzle from Wilton, and again I've just filled the bag, pressure in this hand, guiding with this hand. I'm going to start in the centre of the cupcake, squeeze down with pressure, come around and around again until the cupcake is finished. Do that again. A bit quicker that time. So I'm going to add a little bit of this gold glitter now. Not too much. So I'm just going to sprinkle some of these on. The most basic of cupcakes, this looks really pretty, really effective, and it took me a couple of minutes. So that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed seeing both the big Victoria sandwich with the chocolate strawberries and these extra bonus gold star cupcakes being made. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back soon.